Hello, everyone. We are live at Epic headquarters. You were just watching Zacubus's top 5 plays of the week, which were
Very
cool as ever. You can not only see them on YouTube, on the Unreal Tournament's YouTube page, you can see them in the launcher. And he sends us a new one every week.
In the game, not yet in the launcher.
Sorry, yes, in the game.
Frag Center.
After you go through the launcher in the Frag Center. And you can also go to our forums. There's a post that Jim made, and if you have any content that you'd like to see in Frag Center, you can post it there.
And there actually have been a couple, so we should get some more community videos in there very soon.
Oh, that's awesome. And if you play with Zacubus, you might wind up on there.
Snot shot.
That's Snot shot.
Yes.
Well, he has his own thread going, actually, where you can submit your own clips. So you don't actually have to be playing with him to make the top 5 frags. You can just, if you have he actually has a video that shows you how to set it up so that you can capture your own stuff.
Awesome.
And even go back and capture some old footage if you weren't prepared for it or didn't know about it, and then how to submit it to him so he can incorporate it into the thing.
Yeah, if you're playing against him, you may just be winding up as the victim in the video.
Yes, he is somewhat skilled at the game.
Oh, those are awesome. Like, somebody sent me a message yesterday. They're like, "Is this the game now?" And I said, "Yeah, it is." And they're like, "Okay, I'm going to go download." Got word later that they were really enjoying it. So that was pretty awesome. So thank you, Zacubus, for getting one of my old friends to play. So we've been talking about this for a few weeks, but actually we're going to do it this week. We're going to have a frag with devs on Friday.
Yep.
Yay.
At 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon, 4 o'clock Eastern time, we're going to have an Epic Games hub up, and we want you to come play with us.
It's actually already up now. It's the Epic Games headquarter hub, and
HQ hub.
gonna get that's gonna be the place for anybody playing from Epic on the launch build is likely to be playing there. It's got a good ping to us, so but we need all the help we can get. So
We will be your fodder. Yes.
Fodder? Is Mysterio going to play? I don't know about fodder then. We'll see.
Most of us will be fodder.
Yeah,
Yes.
but I will absolutely be fodder. So yeah, come play with us this Friday. We'll try to have some more information later. If not, just show up. Just come and play on Friday afternoon at 4 p.m. Eastern time, and hopefully you'll see us.
Ooh, wait, what happens when we show up as the flub of the week?
yeah.
You know it's going to happen.
Or top 5, I mean top 5.
Yeah.
But he does have a fail at the end.
Yes.
Yeah.
He has the fail of the week.
I think we may wind
better
up with a
not
fail.
I'll be there after the stream. See you, Zacubus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dr. Sin, Joe Wilcox was already the fail of the week.
Yes,
Yes.
he was. He was the first.
He was the
Yep.
first
And
fail.
he's very proud of it.
And we're proud of him.
Gotta have goals.
So, okay, I think that's that. Oh, I wanted to let people know too that we are restocking the Unreal Tournament store. We actually were supposed to do it a few weeks ago, and somehow things just didn't make it there. So we are working on it. The basic Unreal Tournament shirts, the ones that Shane Cottle designed, those are available in most sizes, and the rest will be available soon. So I will announce as soon as we're ready. We'll give some away, and so keep watching for that. Now we're going to turn it over to Pete, because Pete has some surprises for us.
All right. Well, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to show a little bit of work in progress stuff from the community. And then at the end, I'll show work in progress of the link gun.
Yay!
How that's coming along. So should be fun. Oops. Got a little extension
We can't hear you if you.
There you go.
You can hear your stomach
You're
growling.
now allowed to lean forward. We've let you off the
sorry,
leash.
I've got it. All right. First up, we have Robo CG. And I found these in the accessories section of the forums where people are typically doing character accessories. But I thought this was a really cool idea to do custom flags as accessories. So RoboCG kind of whipped these up and asked if people would be interested. This is his concept. And then he
those are
started
cool.
roughing some of the models in. So
I want that to be an Unreal Tournament pen that I can use.
yeah,
It's a
Little
mechanical
scribe.
pencil.
you would never lose it. It would always be found. So
Well, that's very Gears cog-like on top.
yeah, the previous one is. So I definitely think these are really cool. It's a great idea. I hope that he finishes these and makes them available, gets them in engine, and I encourage everybody else. I think accessories like these are great because they're smaller, kind of bite-sized pieces, and they're a lot easier to tackle and get from start to completion. When you start doing levels or you start doing weapons or full characters, that's a lot more challenging to kind of plow through that whole process, especially if you're doing it in your free time. And so things like flags, things like helmets, accessories, they're nice bite-sized ways to get started in the community and started making assets. So
That's really cool.
really
I know
neat.
back in UT, the first UT, you could make like custom flags. You could only use
Oh,
the
yeah.
flag material, the normal flag, but you could put
Yeah.
your own images on it. So that was a lot of fun.
So
Oh, this is awesome.
next up we have Jail Plus, who's actually revisiting the lightning gun, which I think is really cool.
Lightning gun.
If you remember from previous streams or on the forums, he'd done some pretty detailed modeling. It was really eye candy, sexy renders, all that stuff. And then he kind of took a step back and started figuring out some articulation issues and revisiting certain components of the gun, which, while these renders aren't as sexy and pretty with nice rendering and materials and things like that, the reason why I wanted to showcase these is one of the things that I've been preaching a lot with my weapon design and my methodology is you really need to block out the entire weapon. You need to focus on the first person, and you really need to figure out articulation. So obviously something like this, the articulation is way too subtle. You need to start figuring out what's going to pop and what's going to give that weapon an interesting silhouette. And more than anything, how is it going to function? So if you're a mechanical modeler and you're just starting out, I highly, highly recommend that you start to animate your stuff. Learn how to do at least basic animations. The animations don't have to look super fancy and polished, but they have to move the components that are going to function on your weapon. And that'll really help you to visualize what's working, what's not, what's going to be interesting visually, what's going to give a nice alternating silhouette.
I can hear that LG sound in my head.
Yes. And also Trev
That's a bad mic.
ported the 2K4 lightning gun to the editor, and people are playing with it now. So not in the weapon art thread, but in the weapon prototype thread. Go check that out. So I'm hoping that him and Jo kind of meet together, and he
together.
puts
Yeah,
his
somebody actually asked me in IRC yesterday. Oh, so I see you guys added the lightning gun back. I was like, no, we didn't. So I mean, it tells you that even if it's the old 2K4, people are doing it at enough quality that it's looking good and it has a lot of potential.
Yeah. So Jo and Trev get together and make
That
that
collaboration.
make that collab happen. Now we have Raxus doing the Stinger, and so this is a Stinger prototype model that he's doing. I thought it had some really cool shapes.
Oh, that's pretty.
I think
Interesting.
there's definitely some
haven't seen this one.
functionality issues that kind of need to be worked out. So this is something I would say is on the other extreme, where they went in and started doing a lot of detailing and making a really cool looking model, but there's still a lot of questions as far as how this would be held by the player.
Like this.
We're about to implement hands, so if we have animated hands in there and that's the top grip, it's going to be covering up a ton of all those cool little mechy biddles that they've got going
Not to
on
mention
there.
it's a custom rig just for this weapon.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to support all that stuff.
Yeah.
But definitely just wanted to show because they're making good progress on it. But again, I keep not warning people, but advising people, make sure you don't get too excited. I know making the little biddles and going crazy into the detail, that's the super, super fun part. But make sure you get that foundation really, really strong first. So great work on that.
Yeah, it was one thing that amazed me when I first started working here was when I saw the artwork on the walls. I was like, I never saw this in game. Well, there's a lot of things that just people work on.
Yeah,
and
we
spend
go
a lot
through
of
a
time
lot
on.
of ideas.
A lot of ideas, a lot of
Yes.
iterations. Things that you see are like, wow, I've never even seen that
Yeah.
before.
I mean, through the forums you can see some of that, right? Where people are like, oh, here's all my ideas. But I think there's this misconception that when we make a game, we just build a level and it's done, right? Or we build a weapon and it's done. And
Yeah.
as you can see, as you posted your very detailed shock rifle thing, like there's a lot of steps in the process before we finally get to that
Yeah.
done state.
Yeah, and with the link gun, which we'll see later on, we did not a complete redo, but we got to the first person. We just didn't like how much articulation that first person field of view had, so we designed some new paint overs and proceeded with a little new direction. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. So next we're going to do Rooster 128. and he just recently posted. I think
the old school gun.
he came from Polycount, and people told him to come over and participate on our forums. So I'm really happy. Thanks, Polycount guys. You guys are awesome. This is something that we had been talking about that would be really, really cool, and that's an HD remake of all the UT-99 weapons. And so he posted his work in progress and said, hey, would anybody be interested in this? And I think it'd be awesome. So we have the old school Enforcer.
Oh my goodness.
The old school flak. And I think the key to any HD remake is you want to keep all the main silhouette, all the main proportions, all the main forms as close as humanly possible to the originals. Now, to make it a kind of an HD, kind of an up-res thing, you want to add a little more details, give it a little bit more polish, but you definitely don't want to mess with the core designs because you want that nostalgia. That's the whole point.
That ripper.
And then the transloc.
The translocator. Always my favorite one.
Wrist located. Might have to
A tiny
revisit
little
that in the
translocator.
future.
Yeah.
And then this one already
Oh,
has completely
boy.
done
Oh, that's cool.
in the engine, so that's some classic
Wow.
shock action right there.
I'm getting all nostalgic.
And then
Oh,
what's
wow.
really cool is there's a first-person view, and they're obviously working directly from a screenshot and making sure that it has all the core components. It has the exact same proportions, but as you can see, it's kind of just got a little extra layer of sheen on it,
Yep.
with the UE4 materials and cool stuff like that. So awesome work, Rooster 128. And please, I think if you finished all of those to the same level of quality that the shock is at, talk to us. Shoot me a PM, shoot anybody on the team a PM, and we'll figure out how we can get those distributed on the marketplace, however you want to do it. Definitely collaborate on that. So great work again.
Very cool.
In that same thread or train of thought, Eberu did a UT-99 Pulse from way back in the day, and this was apparently on the forums, buried like 3 or 4 pages deep, and I didn't even know it was there. He had already finished it,
That is
had
so
it textured in engine, and so I thought it'd be fun to show this guy right before I showed the new link, so we can kind of see the lineage of it. And so again, I think stuff like this is great for the marketplace. I'd love to see all the 2K4 weapons get this same type of treatment. And this is a fun project for the community because it's something that's very, very clearly defined. You know, you have a blueprint, and all you have to do is take that blueprint and improve upon it. It's not like the new weapons that we're doing that are a little bit more challenging because we're trying to innovate while keep nostalgia and heritage. And but as far as just straight execution,
Oh,
this
that's a
is
great shot.
perfect example of what a HD remake should be. So really good work on that. So finally, we'll transition to my stuff that I've been working on. And again,
my goodness.
this is work in progress. I was staying up pretty late. I was having a lot of fun. I was up to like 2:30, 3 in the morning trying to
Yeah, I
get
saw you
things
sending out
finished.
email last night like, let me play.
So
Yeah, I tweeted out a picture of you before the stream, and you kind of look half asleep.
So this is the direction that we're going. This is only about 60% finished. There's still lots of things to work out, but we're kind of figuring out the base of the new forms. And as you'll see, I even nerded out and put little descriptions of whatever the little techno parts are on there to try and identify what all these moving components were.
So I'm noticing the hose theme on all of our new weapons. Is that intentional or is that just accidental?
I think that's just a primordial, like, subconscious thing that you want to put on space guns to make them look cool.
Yeah, it fits well on this one, for
Every
sure.
one of them has a little like hose. Which
Yeah.
This looks amazing.
One of the things that I loved about the UT3 link gun was that between the primary and secondary fire, you had a dramatic change in silhouette.
Yeah.
And so on the UT3 one, it kind of opened up, and you saw these little hoses feeding energy, and you just had a really dramatic change in silhouette and visual kind of look to the weapon. And so that's what I tried to accomplish with this, or what I'm heading towards. I still have some issues to work out, but instead of kind of expanding, I thought it made more sense for it to kind of close in and focus that secondary beam a bit more. So
Oh, so awesome.
My gosh.
here's how it looks with the character holding it, and then that's the top view on the right. Even though it looks like I've carved a little bit of detail in, I'm leaving the base cage underneath my modifier stack very simple and clean. So it's very easy for me to make changes and modify the geometry, tweak the proportions, all that good stuff. Any detail that looks like smaller, fine detail is not carved into the mesh, it's just floating on top. So if we decide to make a dramatic change, I can just move that around. Right now, we're still in the prototyping phase, so it's very critical for me to make things as flexible as possible. And then here's the most important view, and this is why we went back to the drawing board a tiny bit on the previous version, if you're following the thread, is just wanted to make sure we had a lot of visual interest in that first person view, a lot of things that we can apply effects to, material effects, particle effects, shaders, different things like that, and then have the weapon kind of change silhouette between the primary and secondary. So on the left is the idle pose if you're just holding it. The primary would be a little bit more simple, not as dramatic, and then the secondary with that huge beam, you'd have more effects. The weapon would be animating a little more crazy, and that would kind of be the gist. So I'm going to try not to rip my mic off, but I'm actually worked out
I gave you some room. You're good. You
Okay,
can lean
cool.
forward.
Some very, very quick and dirty prototype animations. This was the last thing that I did, so this was done.
The old fire? Or is that the fire?
This is the primary.
Okay.
So I apologize for how dirty these anims are. This was the last thing I did
Oh, they look awesome.
at night. And so I'm just kind of testing the moving parts, seeing what things we can potentially animate. Doesn't mean that this is the way it's going to animate. I'm just trying to give myself and the animators, gameplay guys, as much little things that we can play with, as many tools in the sandbox as possible that we can potentially tie to gameplay effects.
Well, it definitely looks much cooler than it does right now. So that
Different
looks
things
awesome.
like that.
We've also been spending some time with Alan Willard, classic UT guy. Has been putting some effort in on the link effects as well. So there's, I think, the new primaries in there, and he's working on a new beam right now. Has a lot of potential from what I've seen. Looking really cool.
So this was kind of my idea for the secondary. You see you've got a little bit more, the arms kind of fold up. There'll actually be smaller beams coming out of those sides that'll tendril into the main beam and top
Can you make
for
it
a little.
so RZE dies the moment that he does that?
Nice.
That would really be
We
appreciated.
will never forgive him for abusing the link when it was OP.
Vapors in his face and self-suicide.
Exactly.
So
every day.
again, very, very work in progress, but
It looks
that's
awesome.
just me kind of going through the motions and roughing things in. And so I'll model a little bit, I'll move some parts a little bit, I'll animate, I'll detail just a tiny bit to try and visualize a bit more. But it's a very iterative process. Still only about 65% done. So still a lot to do. I still need to get all you guys' feedback. I think that may have been.
I think you just got it.
You just
First
got
time
mine. I
to
think
see
that
it.
looks fantastic. That's awesome.
Y'all did? Great.
Yeah,
do
absolutely.
it.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I will put a link up too when I post our videos for tomorrow. I'll put a link to the thread so people can come and give their feedback as well.
And I will post all these updates. The last time I posted updates was late Friday night. So I'll post all the renders from this stream in the thread. And please visit the thread. Give me comments, crits. I definitely tried to fold in a lot of the stuff that you guys already had, the changes you suggested to the ammo drum, the grip, different things like that. So I'm definitely taking y'all's comments and crits into consideration and folding in as much as I can.
Do you know when this will be in the build?
I am going to start actually working on the prototype today and get in the build or get it in to be in the next build in the next few days.
Cool.
So yeah,
Awesome.
it should definitely be in the next build. And again, it won't be finished. It'll just be a rough approximation of what's going on. But it's far enough along that it's time to just get it in the game, test it, see what works, what doesn't, and then we can go back and
Same thing we did with the shot, right?
Yep.
And the flak. Yeah.
exact same thing.
Nice job, Pete. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's always so cool to see the new weapons coming out.
Space guns are fun.
Space guns are fun. So we have Q&A.
Yay.
So we asked you guys, we did this last week, and we had a whole bunch of questions. We answered a lot of them, so instead of going back through them, we asked to post new ones, and we got some of the old ones again, and we got some of the some new questions. The first one we have is from Nux, and Nux wants to know, has Epic thought about bringing back the iconic front flip, the old those old videos, man. I've seen people flip forward.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've certainly thought about it. I mean, really, when we started off with the what's now the slide was a roll, and that was meant to be a roll as kind of a nod to that old flip. I mean, the problem that we saw with the roll that front flip has is it's very hard to, I mean, basically the player in first person doesn't have any sense of doing that unless you do something really wonky with the camera, and from third person it's just hard to understand where the player's aim, your opponent is aiming and where they're really going. And so it's definitely something that we recognize as being a, like they mentioned, an iconic animation from UT. So we'd like to figure out how to do it, but at this point we don't have a specific plan.
And I would say that Aaron, who's working on the project, is a pretty insane animator. So he'll come up with little polishy bits and things that'll make even just the boring dodges look fantastic. He has a really, really good style. He's done a lot of the UT animations in the past, so he definitely has a feel for.
That knee slide's pretty funny.
And animation customization.
It's temporary. It's getting better.
It's funny though.
Animation customization is definitely also something I think that we'd like to see. So having community created taunts and possibly I think even things like dodges, having some of your in-game moves, as long as they fit within and they're recognizable and readable to other players, having some the ability to have custom ones that the community created would be really cool as well. So I'd love to see that.
That would be interesting if you had your own little personal flair.
Yeah.
Whatever it was. Throwing West Side hand signals or whatever.
There's actually a couple of different ways you could do that, right? One would be that the animation's separate, or it could be attached to a mesh, or if you get Lauren, then she does the front flip, like that's one of her signature.
Right.
That's a great
things,
idea. Then I will always use Lauren.
Customized first-person hand animations as well, hopefully.
Yep.
Different things like that.
This is kind of controversial, but we're even asking the hard ones. So, majority of projectiles and shock combos are all very fast and or big in relation to how they interact with the movement, resulting in easy-to-use, overpowered weapons with instant with instant deaths, regardless of armor stacks.
That's a little hyperbolic.
I would say, but
I guess my answer to that would be we recognize we're still doing weapon balancing. However, one thing that we think is important and that will change the balance is we think it's important that projectile weapons are useful in competitive play as well as hit scan weapons. So relatively speaking, the projectile weapons will be more powerful than they were in past UTs because at high level play, basically those weapons, the projectile weapons were useless. We want them to be a part of the gameplay.
Right.
Certainly, we're not claiming that the weapon balance is perfect now, and we're still making lots of tweaks in a lot of different directions. But every UT has had powerful weapons that were easy to kill with, and that didn't make. The game is still very.
Almost every weapon has always been a one-hit kill under the right circumstances.
So we're still balancing it, but definitely we think it's important that projectile weapons are useful and lethal.
Yeah. I would also say that when you look at something like Hammer, even the bio, there's kind of this weird learning curve where they're really easy to get into and get kills with easy on until you kind of get into that mid-range where they kind of lose usefulness or they become more situational. Yeah. And then at kind of like the high-level play, there's enough there that you can learn new ways to use it, new things to do with it, that it becomes useful and powerful again in a different way. Like once you have certain movement skills or
unless you're Captain Migraine, then you just throw snot shots out.
Like Impact Hammer is very useful when for a newbie to just run around and get the occasional kill. and then most people kind of hit this plateau where they kind of stop using it for a while.
Yeah.
And then when they get to that kind of high skill level, they start using it for jumping and reflecting things. And so it kind of has different tiers of use.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think this falls into that as well, just where it's not like everything is just you can press a trigger and kill people instantly with no thought.
Histortion asked about vehicles. We talked about vehicles a lot last stream, so if you want to go back to that one. I think somebody already mentioned, I think Henrik mentioned it. We really talked a lot about vehicles in the last one.
Long story short, we'd love to have vehicles someday. We're not working on it now. It's not going to be worked on in the next few months. We're focusing on polishing the existing core gameplay that we're creating, adding a lot of social features. One of the really cool things that's coming in the next build, to kind of digress and go into is so next build, I think we're about 3 weeks away from the next build. We've just finished upgrading to 4.8, and we've gotten fixed most of the issues we had as part of that upgrade.
And they've been
We've got the new replay system working. So replay system is basically demo recording, but the way it's going to be set up now is going to be super powerful. It's going to be both the same system that you use for playing back pre-recorded demos as well as live spectating, because you basically have this, it's kind of like a TiVo functionality where you can jump in and start spectating a match, scrub back to the beginning, start live, whatever, but your experience, whether you're watching
the match and then scrub back and watch the beginning.
The experience of whether you're live or not is the same. We're also going to try to use this for other stuff. So like for example, one of the things that we're trying to work out, I'm not sure this will make it in the next build, is a highlight reel where at the end of a match, we annotate the replay, and then at the end of the match, we replay just the highlights from the match, right? The flag caps, the monster kills, the key moments, and we'll have to, there'll be some work to figure out the right heuristics to do that. We'll also probably have a annotate button where players can add their own highlight moments that they want to call out specifically.
I think Zacubus is looking forward to this.
Yes.
That'd be awesome.
So I think so we're really excited about the replay system. And then on top of that, the replay system, the way that it's going to work is it's going to be we're going to have a database of replays that's searchable. So you'll be able to, by player, say, let me get a time sorted list of all their recent matches. We'll be doing an Epic database for the Epic hubs, but we'll also provide the functionality for people to create their own databases for their own servers. So
Awesome.
I'm really excited about it. It's going to be a really cool
we
feature.
are.
It's going to be great for people creating stuff for Frag Center, for people watching, for spectating, and just in general. Another long-term thing we want to have with the replay system is that you'll be able to go into the editor and actually add your own custom stuff, so that the replay works with like sequencer or whatever, so that you can really customize the replay.
A lot of work went into this. It's really pretty amazing.
Nice.
So a lot to do, but it's already going to be really cool. And
Speaking about vehicles, do you Rakes wants to know, do you think it's going to be ever possible that we're going to have mechs in UT?
I mean, you guys make some
Why
mechs.
not?
Make some mechs.
I will make some vehicles and some mechs. The
He likes
instant I
mech-
get
he
all
loves
these
those
guns in
little
the game,
Yeah.
I will make sure that I harp on them daily for cool, more big mechy battle things to ride and shoot and kill and all that fun stuff. But yeah, down the road,
Awesome.
unfortunately.
Our buddy Whale would like to know, is there anything that the community can do on the code side that would be helpful to Epic in terms of handling community contributed code content?
That's a really great question.
It is.
I feel like, I know that there's and he's pointing out a real issue, which we have several pull requests that have been sitting out there for a long time. And if we haven't closed it, that means that we're still considering it or interested in it, but we just haven't had time to really focus on it yet. I think what he's suggesting would probably have some value, but I hesitate. I'm not sure. Like, that's not necessarily like with the translocator camera. I'd love to experiment with it, but there's a lot of design questions. Like, I want to make sure that we really think through as we add it to CTF that it works right and that we have the right trade-offs for using it. And so that's more what's been stopping us from really focusing on it. And we just had a ton on our plates, and we've only got a few programmers internally. So I think it would be valuable, but I'm not sure that by itself would make the difference. I mean, certainly us having more confidence in how robust and well tested the code is going to make it more likely that we'll get to it. That's certainly one of the things that makes us hesitate to look at pull requests. But I hope we find the time to get to that soon. I mean, that one specifically, I would love to to get in and play around with. But
That's how I do my email too. I just leave it unopened, sitting there.
Yeah.
I gotta get to.
Could they help out with game types or anything, or is that still?
Well, here he's talking specifically about
About
pull
the-
requests where people
Yeah.
are already submitting stuff. I mean, well, Whale's been doing a lot of stuff. He's
Yeah.
been submitting a lot of pull requests and done a lot of, the Ripper
Weapons
and other
and,
weapons.
yeah.
So, I mean, that's also very valuable. I think that's a really good suggestion. I need to think more about that. I mean, I would love to figure out how to coordinate better and get more, because we've got a lot we want to get done this summer, and so making sure that the community, I mean, between updating Trello and just figuring out how to make it possible for you guys to more effectively contribute to the stuff we're focusing on, because that's really the issue, is that we've got a small number of programmers,
Right.
and we have time to integrate changes from you guys on the areas we're focusing on that are we're currently very familiar with the code and understand exactly what we're trying to accomplish. But it's harder to switch gears and look at contributions that aren't in areas we're currently making progress on. So we need to figure out how to take advantage of you guys in a positive way.
Hey, I like it. Loki Motivate, I hope I said that right. He's a new member. Welcome to the forums. It was great to see somebody new jump in. He wants to know if there will ever be any advanced or specific graphical options to turn off the pretty stuff, the eye candy, so they can concentrate on fragging instead of drooling.
Well, you already can turn off, I mean, you can already turn out to low detail just with the general, we've got general groups. We definitely plan to add some specific categories for enabling or disabling specific features, so you can be in general at high detail but turn off the 2 features you don't like, or be at medium detail but turn on the 2 features you think are really useful. So we will make our graphics detail more fine-grained in terms of what you can change, but you can already turn it down and get rid of all the eye candy if you want. Hopefully we'll get some time in the summer to do some more optimization work for making the low end somewhat run faster, but basically look better, like the lighting and stuff like that at the low end, so that
some of that is a
people can
content
get-
issue in terms of you have to design for both ends at the same time. It's also interesting that when the replay system comes online, I think you were just talking about this today, because that's recorded server side, you can have whatever settings you want, and then when you go back and watch the replay, it can be full detail. So you can turn everything down on your system for performance or gameplay or whatever reasons you want, and then when you go back to do the replay or do the video, you can see everything in full effects and full glory. So it'd be cool to have your cake and eat it too in that regard.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
He also wanted to know about the hoverboard, but that's also down the road.
Yeah.
Bosch wanted to know about hitboxes. He said currently the hitboxes are observably bigger than the player models, resulting in empty air hits. I like those.
So the thing, to answer that, the amount they're big. Actually, I shrank them slightly a build or so ago. I'm not sure if it was the build before last one or the last one.
I think it was the last
but
one.
But the thing is, in general, to have a very consistent, fair experience, having a hitbox like that rather than depending on some kind of like animation dependent stuff, because it's very hard to perfectly synchronize animation, and so this way it's very consistent what is a hit and what is not, regardless of what animations your client is playing versus and whether it's synced with the server or not. So I don't think we have any plans right now to go away from this simple hitbox, and so I think that's really the trade-off that we want, is to make sure that, I mean, at its in super low detail mode, you're just capsules sliding around the world and fighting each other, but that gives a very consistent and pure competitive experience that's not that kind of takes away some of that stuff. I mean, for example, we wouldn't want, that would be problematic if we allowed a roll, dodge, or different taunt animations, and that actually whether you could hit somebody or not depended on their animation.
It would also, to some degree, be very character specific too. So
once we get Scar in, we get female characters. They're going to have some variances in the actual proportions. Not dramatic, but enough variations that it would.
The
Malice
headshot on the
is
gun.
actually a really good example of why
Professional play for sure.
And even just in general, I mean, I think we don't want people to be choosing what character they use, or what animations they use based on it affecting your
Gameplay.
probability.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
We have enough
Always the
conversations on, like,
conversation in
skins.
competitive shooters.
Yes.
Yeah.
So a while ago, Sneh, who I think real life has caught up with him, and he hasn't been around too much lately. He was working on some wall running. Is that something that Bosch really liked? The idea
Yes,
of wall
I
running?
think it's really cool. It is still on the list. It's one of the things that we're going to explore. So it's been on my to-do list to go back and investigate for a long time. There's a few different ways we're thinking about using it, but we definitely, it's still an open thing that we would love.
There
I mean,
is non-animated wall running in right now. You can.
Well, it's not
kind
really
of.
wall running. It's the wall sliding that's been
Yeah.
in forever, and this is a much more elaborate and
Yes.
polished implementation of that. I mean, certainly we're going to add polish to the small amount of wall slide we have now, and we'll think about this kind of feature and how we can
it
incorporate
was a lot of fun. We
Yeah.
were playing around with it,
Yep.
and we had a really good time with
Yep.
it.
Yeah.
But
I
it
agree.
was kind of weird not seeing your hand,
Yeah.
as you were running.
Yeah.
So it was kind of
I'd say
disorienting.
that's the one major change in movement or addition to the movement system that's still kind of open for version 1.0 of UT. I mean, there's certainly, I just made another tweak to deceleration yesterday. We're still playing around with all the numbers for movement, and nothing else is. And so, it's certainly not trying to say that movement is finalized, but in terms of really big changes, this is the one that I'm most interested in exploring further right now.
Vlad, who was working on the team stuff and did some game types, he wants to know why Last Man Standing and the other game types aren't on the hubs yet.
Well, it's not a UT game type right now, so Epic official hubs, we're just running official content right now, just because we want a consistent experience that we understand what's going on, and if there's issues, we can tell the difference. I would love to see it as an option. I mean, that's, I guess, the thing to go talk to some of the other hub admins about putting it on as an option. I'm not sure if there's any issues. I haven't looked at Last Man Standing, whether it's a blueprint-only game type or whether there are issues with running it on the hubs. If there are, then we want to fix that.
Yeah,
we
get it
want to make
worked
it
out.
possible for custom game types to be. First of all, I mean, one of our pushes over the next month or two is to make sure that you can really fully implement game types and blueprints. And then another thing is to make sure that it's easy for people to have custom game types running on hubs. So I hope it works now, and if not, we will work on making that happen.
Okay. Fat Jeff, I'm sorry. Fat Jeff.
There's no Jeff in here, so.
Bat Jeff to go with your shirt.
It's Bat Jeff. He's Batman. At the moment, I guess he's working on assault mode blueprints with some other folks, and he wants to know some detail about assault from our side. Will we also work on it with them, or will there be hammer and rocket launching, team boosting? He is an assault fan, apparently.
Yep.
So are we, and we talked a little bit about this last week.
Yeah, I mean, as we talked about last week, right now we're not working on assault in here. We would love to have community people working on it, and really, I mean,
Assault's
it's
huge.
It's up to the community. I mean, it's up to the interest. I mean, there might be more than one flavor of assault, but it's up to the interest of whatever community members are working on a flavor of assault. So whether it's a assault that's more focused on the kind of bounce, get through, figure out tricks to get through the level versus a more traditional feel like a mission, a combat mission kind of assault.
I would actually turn that question back on him and say, what are the issues that are preventing you from getting it done, and how can we, maybe that's an area that we can help in that way. I don't think we'll have time to go in and like actually help them create the game type, but if
that was a dad answer.
If there's something technical, if there's something technical that's preventing them from doing it, and we're not aware of it, then we should be made aware of it. So.
Okay. Oh, we got the tough questions again here.
I like tough questions.
Valash, he wants to know a little bit about the business about UT.
Oh, you skipped the game sound question.
Oh, I did. Let's go back.
Yeah.
Okay. So Legions, hi Legions. Sorry, I almost skipped you. When will the game sounds be addressed? I hear my footsteps, but I'm able to hear enemy footsteps. I hear pickups all over the map, but can't hear an enemy walking 6 feet behind me. Are we gonna have improved directional sound? It was pretty good in UT3.
So, yes, sound needs work. I think I don't know if you've played, so I'd be curious if you're seeing this. I think for the last build, we
better on
fixed
this
some
one.
issues with footsteps. We had some, I think we had some animations that didn't have footstep notifiers. There were some issues with that. So the footstep specific part of your question has been improved. But in general, in terms of directional sound and occlusion and just really having a good soundscape that tells you where your enemies are, still needs a lot of work. I don't have a specific date, but it is definitely also one of the things that I am concerned about, and I hope we find time to make some improvements on it soon.
Yeah, it did seem a lot better than
It's-
the last update.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have a dedicated audio programmer on the UT team, so we're reliant on what happens at the engine level, and that we don't have
Instilling things.
as
Yeah.
much control over. So we have to kind of
Yeah.
wait and see what they're doing and see what we can implement from that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's all. No, I'm just kidding.
Peace out.
Peace out. All right. So, outside of the marketplace, what are your plans for the retention of player post-release? Will there be any form of player progression or achievements? That's a good question.
Yeah, I think we talked about this in last week's stream.
we did.
Yeah,
So
oh
I
yeah,
guess
that's
I would.
right.
I guess that's what I would direct you for details. Is that we talked about? Yes, we think that's very important. We think all these things. I mean, we certainly see that they work on us as well to have those kinds of carrots
They
pulling you
certainly
along.
work on me.
So even I'm very much a like I like playing games like UT just as they are. I don't really need it, but I can still see the value in those things. So we're definitely that's one of the things that we're really focusing on over the next few months is building those systems so that we can iterate on them and see and make them really good. But we agree that that's important for building a large audience. I mean, we don't want to make a game that appeals to a small number of classic UT fans. We want to make a game that brings in a really big audience of people, and that it's a big community that is growing the game by making new stuff and experiencing the game with us, and making this game a great success in terms of competition and gameplay, and having tens of thousands of people playing the game, so it's easy to find the right skill level of matches and so forth. And so that's where we want to get, and
Yep.
this is part of it. So.
Which leads us to the FPS player base isn't the same as it was 10, 15 years ago. Your target audience of FPS gamers have been well trained by the gaming industry to drop a game after a short period of time.
Yeah.
With games that are giving annual releases and stuff like that. It concerns them that the new UT players may shrink after a long release if there isn't some sort of progression.
I mean, that's the main reason we're doing it, right? Is we
Yeah.
want
Yeah.
that.
We want
But people tend to forget that this is still a game in development.
Yeah.
And what we've focused on up to this point is getting the general gameplay up and running.
and I do think
if
that
this was a
people-
normal release,
Yeah.
like you wouldn't see those things until later in development
Right.
usually. So
And I think also to remember, and as we've talked about before, is that this is not a one-time release.
Yeah.
I mean, this game's going to be a living project, and we'll probably have something like seasons where we stay stable in terms of gameplay for some period, but that we'll continue to update the game and make changes, not just to improving the graphics or whatever, but also we will be iterating on the gameplay, adding new game modes, modifying the game as it goes. So we will be also, in addition to having these progression systems, we'll be keeping the game fresh by continuing to change it, by supporting the community, doing new stuff. I mean, the community is going to be making a lot of the new content once, for the game, the maps and game types and things like that, mutators. I mean, that was already the case traditionally, and certainly now, with the size of our team versus the size of the community that is helping us build the game, we see that as being even more part of what makes the game stay alive, and we're really going to support that.
Yeah, I think it's really exciting to be able to look forward to. Oh my goodness, somebody's doing Onslaught, so in a couple months I'll be able to play Onslaught. So I think stuff like that will absolutely keep people around. Vandergrift says he's kind of late to the party last time, but his question is if there's any status update on the Linux client on the launcher.
A Linux launcher, I thought that.
We need to have Pete on here one of these days. The other Pete, repeat.
Yeah. I thought that
Evil
was
Pete.
I'm not sure. I guess I need to find out.
We don't know.
I know.
Well,
Okay, so I know at one
We only
point.
work here.
Wait.
I heard Dimitri was working on it, but we have no stats for what it
Yeah,
Dimitri.
Dimitri was working on it. Yeah, that was what I was gonna say. Is Dimitri said he thought he could get it done. It was almost working, but I think he just has been on other stuff, so he hasn't had a chance to focus on it. But yeah, hopefully we'll get that soon. Until then, we're certainly going to continue to make the Linux client and server available to you just through zips, but we'd love
He's
to get
on
the launcher.
IRC. Come bother him.
Yeah.
Ask him what the heck he's doing. The word tournament means there's a winning award for a champion. Are you guys going to bring back trophies? It was such an iconic thing for UT. The lack of trophies didn't feel like a tournament.
I think that's kind of a cool idea.
You know,
I mean-
we've been thinking about a little bit, just different ways to do that, whether it's, you know, in the stats room or whatever. I was talking to another guy earlier this week about, you know, changing our, like right now we have the little gold, silver, and bronze medals, but we could maybe change those to trophy graphics instead. You know, there's various ways,
Yeah.
and
But
I
I
think that
I'm sorry.
just having a trophy room is a cool idea, right? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I
show
think-
off all the things that you have, all the things you've earned, all the things that you've.
Yeah, I think that's really
accomplished.
cool because I think there's only so much. I mean, regardless of what the graphics are, a little icon on the scoreboard is only going to be
Yeah.
so cool. Like having a trophy room that kind of shows off your accomplishments.
Yeah.
That's a real 3D. I mean, also all the loot you've earned and all the
Yeah.
different things like this.
Accessories like limited edition helmets, gun skins,
my pink
whatever.
flag cannon.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
hopefully we have a ton of things that tie into just how much, you know, how well you've done throughout the course of.
And even if we
playing
did it
the game.
straight UT99 style, where eventually we hope to get to the point where there's some sort of, I'm not going to say storyline, but like single player component where you're going through a tournament ladder, you know, against bots or whatever. And that was how that came about, was after you won the competition, you saw
got
the
the-
little
Well, that's what he's
trophy
talking about.
cinematic,
He
essentially.
being Parasa Mario. I love this guy because he talks about how maybe trophies could be sort of an achievement in online games, like it was a part of the
Yeah.
single player campaign. It was an amazing feeling to play a game when you knew that there would be a reward at the end.
Yep.
Nearly dropped a tear.
Maybe we should change the little coins to trophies. You can collect them.
But I don't think
I
that's.
like
I
the
think it's more
coins,
meaningful
yeah.
having a big
Trophy room.
trophy. Like a trophy should be something a significant accomplishment, not just grabbing a
Yeah.
coin. Still a coin, even if you draw it differently. So
And then we want to do stadium-sized tournaments where we hand out real giant trophies.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Eventually.
So, Steve, is it funny to you that like when people talk about UT, they kind of like get choked up when they talk about the UT? Cracks me out. When I saw his thing, I was like, I gotta include this one. So Barktooth, I didn't even know he was a real human being.
There you go.
Any estimate for when the next optimization patch, like the one that came out with Outpost 23, is coming?
in terms of, I mean, we're continuing to make small optimization work just on the game code side. I'm hopeful that in the next couple of months we'll have another big optimization push, but we don't have anything confirmed right now.
My guess off the cuff is it would be with our next big content release.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so we'll see. I mean, or possibly coming before then. There's no reason to tie it to that, but yeah. So that we'll see where that's coming. We definitely have a list of things we want to do to improve performance, and we're slowly chipping away at it with every build. But there's going to be some big improvements coming along at some point.
And he also gets good old Barktooth got a little controversial here. What are your thoughts on the new rocket launcher charging mechanic after it's been tested for several months? Most people are still not happy with it.
It certainly has some controversy within the the UT War Room here as well.
Yeah.
I think it needs some work. I'm still not. I still think it can work, but it's definitely not what we want yet. So it's certainly still an open mode for among our weapons, as several other weapon modes, firing modes for the different weapons are, that we're still really know that we need to go back and experiment and iterate on further.
Yeah.
The other fun thing is we have the rocket launcher. The prototype mesh is going to be the next one I do after the link, and so that may be a great opportunity to try some different things that coordinate visually and articulation and mechanically with the new rocket launcher mesh that tie into gameplay. And I think if you tackle those two things in tandem, then you can really see if something's effective or not, because you have the visual language of everything ties together and makes sense.
We've been bitten in the past, I think, by making a lot of theoretical arguments about whether something is good or not. And so one of the things I like about this project is that we can do something like that and try it out for 3 months, 6 months, however long we want before we decide was this a good change or not, and so we can get actual data and actual experience with it versus arguing the theoretical of which is better. We can just try it and know that it's not a permanent change or not yet a permanent change.
Iron Man Loke is there any place we can see what features are already planned by Epic, which ones are already being worked on by Epic, and which ones are being picked up by the community, or could be picked up by the community?
Excuse me. There's the programming Trello board, which I need to go back. I'll write myself a note to update.
Yeah.
But it's not too out of date at this point, I don't think. But that's definitely a good place to get started.
Well, we were talking today. There are things that we would like to do too, but there's things going on. There's a whole list of things that are going to be needed to be done, but we're other things need to drop into place before they can be done.
Yeah, I think actually that's a good, like with the replay system, as that comes online, and also with things like the, people experimenting with the casting stuff, the spectating stuff that we've done. There's lots of areas where we love people to be doing work on adding onto systems that we've been bringing online and polishing them and improving them. But again, the Trello talks through here, and it has a bunch of features there that we're asking for help for the community. We've got them labeled for different areas that we're not planning on working on right now that we would love community help looking at. So that's a good place to get started. I think most of those are still valid in terms of what Epic's working on. I think that needs to be updated, and I will go and do that.
There's also a content Trello board, but I think that is horribly out of date. I haven't looked at it in quite some time, so
it's very out of date.
I made a deal with Chris that we would work together on it, and I think we mutually agreed to not look at it.
I also think it might not be a bad idea. Whale was doing a weekly update for us, which
was super useful.
Which is super useful. Maybe we could have somebody from the community, be in contact with us, because I can always scream out and say, hey, what do we want people to work on next? And maybe we can have a list running in the forum from the guys in the community. So if you can't program and you're not an artist and you want to do something, that would certainly be helpful.
Or if you don't want to wait for us and the community has started a project, you can find ways to help them out. That was really good.
Yep. That's all we have for this week, and everybody's going, oh, you didn't answer my question. This isn't the last time we're going to do this.
That's a lot of questions.
And I only got through the first page. As soon as they say we're going to ask questions, that they start flying in. So I tried to go in order. So the best thing is to watch for my post when we're going to do it and jump in early and get your question in. Or
stop by our IRC channel and talk to us there, because we're usually live,
we're always there
answering questions, chatting with people, and setting up the Epic Hub to come shoot us in the face.
Yes.
And jump into the forums, especially the weapons stuff, if you want to get involved there and give me comments on what I'm working on. If you ever need help with accessories, weapons, any modeling type stuff on the art side, feel free to PM me if you don't want to ask in one of the threads. I answer very regularly, so be glad to help.
And one other thing, I guess, let me just step back to mention, I was just remembering is, if you want to know what Epic is working on, GitHub shows live all our check-ins, so you can tell what
you could see that
what everybody is doing today, and that's a great place to understand it. And as I was talking about earlier with Whale's question about contributions, giving us it's I guess, and we need to work on making this, because on the one hand, we're more it's easier for us to incorporate changes that are in the area we're working on, but when something is in rapid development, it's kind of hard for a community member to jump in. So for example, the stat stuff that we've done where we've got the in-game stats, that's all that's placeholder work and also being redone at a fast rate. So it'd be hard for a community member to jump in and do stuff that's very useful in the really short term, but we're getting close to the point, and we'll do a little bit more work on that probably by the next build, it'll be at the point where that'd be really useful to have community members mess around with it. And so we'll try to do a better job of detailing the kind of tasks that would be really helpful for our community members to take on.
And I wanted to say thank you to Global Gamers, who is hosting our UT channels.
Yay.
Yes.
And IRC.
Yeah, come
They're
check those
awesome. IRC.globalgamers.net. Make sure you check them out. Come join IRC. It's been fun. We've been turning back the hands of time and talking in IRC a lot. And we have somebody put up the bot for the commits, so you can actually see what we're doing live. The commits just pop up in there, which is pretty darn cool. So So what are we going to talk about next week? Do we have any clue?
Oh, no.
We failed
We're all
to
looking
we
at each
failed to do that.
Hey,
Yeah.
Zach, have any ideas we're going to talk about next week? I think we need to have Pete in here
Yeah, actually, we might. The replay
Pete
system
Nub.
might be in good enough shape to show off
to
at that
show.
point. Yeah.
That sounds so. Maybe we'll have Pete Napoli on, Pete Nub, and
The
you guys
best
can abuse
Pete.
him. I don't
I saw
know.
you, Pete Nub. He was talking trash.
He is definitely the best troll.
Pete talking trash? No.
He wins troll.
We need to get Chris
No.
K on here, Volcano.
Oh yes, actually that'd be
Ah,
awesome.
That is a great idea.
yes.
So, yesterday we in playtest we played Chris K's new map,
Yeah.
and it's called Volcano, and I think it should have the word lava in it, because it's kind of like lava giant
It was
and
the
eternal
most
caves,
UT feeling map
lava caves.
in this game to date. Like
Yeah.
everybody was just like instantly
It feels
nostalgic
like
when they played this map.
Yeah.
It was really cool. It was a
For,
good
yeah,
time.
UT99. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's
Yeah.
asymmetrical, and it is super fun.
Yeah.
It is. It's
It's
like.
a really cool map. And it'll be in the next build now, right? I think we're adding it to the cook list.
Yep.
So yeah,
So
that's
shout out to Eternal Caves. Shout out to Lava Giant. There's just so many cool.
to Magma
things.
from
Magma.
Yeah.
Oh, that was another one that was
Yeah.
awesome. So yeah, this is a lot of fun. I hope you guys get to play it soon. But
Yeah.
yeah, we should have him on next week. Okay, so we're gonna have Chris K on next week.
He doesn't know
He
it yet.
doesn't know it yet.
He was just invited.
But yeah, so we'll let you know what's coming up on the forums, and make sure you tune in tomorrow to the Unreal Engine stream, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye-bye.